Good morning. Hello, everybody. I'm going to let a few people join, but I'll explain who I am and what we're going to talk about today. My name is Gemma Downham. I have the amazing job of being the Director of Fundraising for the charity that raises money for Adam Brooks and the Rosie. We're just going to let a few more people join because we have 160 people signed up today, which we're really thrilled about, and I know the team at the Rosie is particularly thrilled about as well. Today you're going to hear from staff who work on the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit and the Acute Neonatal Transfer Service. These teams are the amazing people who look after our tiniest patients and often our poorest patients. So they look after our premature babies. And that's why we've timed this webinar for today on World Prematurity Day, because we think that that's a fitting tribute to all of your babies who have been looked after in the Nicu or transferred to the Nicu by our specialist ambulance service, which is effectively a neonatal intensive care unit on wheels, keeping all your babies safe. In terms of housekeeping, we're going to record the event so that we can share that with people who can't join us today and share it with other staff at the hospital who are really interested in what we're doing. We are encouraging questions. We've had a few pre-submitted, so thanks very much. If we don't get to your question, then we'll make sure that we come back to you separately, so please ask anything that you would like. First of all, I'd like to say thanks to everybody who is new and come along to find out a little bit more about what the charity does to support the Rosie, and thanks to those who are already supporting the teams at the Rosie. We've done some amazing things in the time that I've worked at the charity. So I've worked with this team for about 10 years. And we've worked on fundraising for the brand new Rosie extension. We've fundraised for incubators. We've fundraised for research into premature babies' brains. We've funded staff posts. We've funded all patient and family comfort. So there's a whole host of things that, together with our supporters, we've been able to fund and make extra special in the Rosie. And we're going to hear about some of those things today. So you're hearing from people who have made those projects happen thanks to funds that have been raised. We're going to hear from three of our incredible staff from the team. So we're going to hear from Rajiv Chowdhury, who's the specialty lead for the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. We're going to hear from Sajeev Job, who's the clinical lead for the Acute Neonatal Transfer Service, and that's the ambulances that bring the babies safely to the Rosie. And we're going to hear from Mary King, who's the matron in the NICU. We're going to show you a couple of videos. Hopefully, depending on bandwidth, they should absolutely run okay. So the first one that we're going to see is hearing from Sophie Phillips, who is a senior speech and language therapist. And she's going to talk a little bit about how the department celebrates World Prematurity Day and the difference that donations have made to the work that they do.
Hi, my name's Sophie. I'm one of the speech and language therapists on the Neonatal Unit. We assess and support babies who have feeding difficulties or who need a little bit of extra help transitioning from tube to breast or bottle feeding. We also work very closely with parents to help them to understand their baby's early communication attempts and to start having a conversation using facial expression, voice, and loving touch. Did you know that 1 in 10 babies is born premature worldwide? And this number is rising. In about half of cases of preterm birth, the cause is unknown. Preterm birth can happen to anyone and is the leading cause of newborn deaths. The aim of World Prematurity Day is to send out a positive message of hope and self-confidence. The purple colour chosen for World Prematurity Day stands for sensitivity and exceptionality. Famous landmarks and buildings across the world are illuminated in purple on the 17th of November. 2 years ago, we were lucky to be able to join in with this event when both the Cambridge Corn Exchange and our own RVS Cafe were bathed in purple lights. Here are some of my colleagues explaining what World Prematurity Day means to us on the unit and describing some of the events and fundraising activities we have organised in previous years.
What does World Premature Day mean for us? It's a day to highlight and raise awareness for all the premature births and the impact that it can have on our families. 15 million babies are born prematurely every year. How do we celebrate World Prematurity Day here at the Rosie? Each year we invite families back, and over the years we have had various events such as prematurity walks, the Corridor of Hope, cake sales, and we even have a tea party in the afternoon. It's so lovely to see our ex-Nicu premature babies come back with their families and their siblings. It's great for socialising, it's nice to see them grow and develop, and it's nice for the families to be able to get together once a year to celebrate this special occasion. On Nicu, we light purple candles in all the rooms on the 17th of November. Staff, parents and babies may wear something purple on the day. Throughout the year, we ask parents to have a go at writing on socks, which we hang around the unit. This will include the baby's name, date of birth and any special message they would like to write.
On our neonatal unit, we are working towards becoming a BLIS accredited unit for delivering consistently high quality, family-centred care. We have a multidisciplinary developmental care team who are working hard to improve the long-term neurodevelopmental outcomes of the babies and to support parents to develop a loving relationship with their babies in often challenging circumstances. Here are a few of the team explaining what their role is on the unit and how ACT are supporting us and the babies and families we work with.
The neonatal unit is a very different environment compared to the one that a baby will experience in their mother's womb. Developmental care promotes and supports the premature and fragile infant's ability to adapt to external environmental events and improves bonding and attachment between the infant and their parents. The aim is to create a supportive, gentle environment which is as similar as possible to the environment a baby's brain and body is expecting at their stage of development. We do this by creating a healing environment. Developmental care requires lots of different professionals working together to meet the needs of the baby and their family.
My name is Paula Pierce. I'm a junior sister and feeding specialist on the Neonatal Unit at the Rosie. Part of my role is to protect, promote and support expressing and breastfeeding on the unit. I'm meeting parents that are in a very stressful environment when they're very anxious, especially if the baby's been born prematurely, and we're seeing babies being born now from 23 weeks gestation. But regardless of the gestation they're being born at, this is not what they planned for. So part of my role is just to support them and build their confidence as parents and help to form that close and loving relationship with their babies. We're very fortunate in having ACT and supporting us on the neonatal unit. They have provided this beautiful expressing room for parents to be in, that their partners can support the mums. They can be comfortable in these beautiful new chairs, and also they have the space and comfort for doing a very personal thing but in a private area. With the help of ACT, we've been really fortunate in actually decorating this room, which is the parents' room. We have beautiful new chairs so they can be comfortable. We also have the opportunity that they can just relax, have their lunch, but also we use it as a place for peer support, as we have a session called Cake and Chat, which runs once a week. It's a time for parents to come together, discuss how their babies are, and also just to talk about any feeding issues they might have. They also join me with one of the members of the multidisciplinary team, and that could be a physio, a speech and language therapist. It's a good time for education and support for the parents.
Hello, my name is Jane Vinson-Smith. I'm an occupational therapist working on the neonatal unit. My role on the unit is to provide sensory and motor assessment and advice to parents and staff. One of the tools that I use is the Brazelton Neonatal Behavioural Assessment Scale and the Newborn Behavioural Observations. ACT have supported training for a number of staff to certify in the Newborn Behavioural Observations Scale. And planning is currently underway to formalise a pathway so that more families coming through the neonatal unit can access individualised support from this.
Hello, I'm Kath Ward. I'm the physiotherapist that provides support to the neonatal unit. Part of my role is to look at positioning and handling of babies while they're on the unit and to provide education and support for parents and for staff. One of our goals of positioning is to try and mimic the position that a baby would be in the womb, and one of the ways that we do this is by using positioning supports. ACT have kindly provided us with the Birdie prone positioning cushions, which allow us to position babies on their tummy in a comfortable position. These are now being rolled out across the unit for use.
Hello, my name's Harriet. I'm the Assistant Psychologist for the Nicu at the Rosie. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our work on the Nicu. So the Nicu Family Support Service are a specialist team of counsellors and psychologists. We are dedicated to supporting families during their baby's stay in the Nicu. It's normal to experience a range of feelings and emotions whilst your baby is being cared for on the Nicu. You might feel shocked, sad, worried, angry, helpless and out of control. Many parents have described their journey on NICU as an emotional roller coaster. So the NICU family support team can offer a confidential space to talk about how families' experiences are impacting them as a family and as individuals. We can offer informal support by the baby's cot side or appointments close to the unit. Funding from ACT is key for us to provide the nurturing support families so often need during their baby's stay on NICU. Firstly, the Corridor of Hope. ACT have very kindly funded the Corridor of Hope. This corridor leads you to the front doors of the NICU and is a collection of photographs and stories of past patients' journeys on NICU and their lives now. Many parents find hope to be a powerful emotion to gain strength from during their NICU journey, and having these stories surrounding them can be powerful when holding on to their hope for their own child. Secondly, the Quiet Room. ACT funding enabled the unit to have a quiet room. The quiet room provides a restful, calm place for families with babies on the NICU. Lengthy periods of time next to their babies in the intensive care rooms can feel exhausting and upsetting. Having this calm space away from intensive care but still close to their baby is so important when trying to get through their time on NICU. Thirdly, the Siblings book. ACT very kindly funded for a professional illustrator to produce a sibling support book for the NICU. There are very limited resources available for siblings with a baby brother or sister on a NICU. Visiting a NICU can often be an emotionally challenging experience for anyone, and for children, it can feel even more overwhelming, frightening and confusing. So we produced a book for parents or family members to read to siblings to prepare them for visiting the NICU for the first time, to help siblings understand what's happened to their baby brother or sister, what NICU is and what it looks like, and to help them understand why their parents cannot be at home as much during their siblings' stay on the NICU.
ACT has been a tremendous support for the unit, so much so that this year I ran the Cambridge Half Marathon in support of ACT and for the Neonatal Unit, raising over £1,500 through parent support, lots of cake stalls and just my colleagues' support on the Neonatal Unit, and it was a tremendous success. So thank you ACT for all your care and support and kindness to our parents.
Wow, that video was brilliant. I particularly loved the small but perfect message. And I have to say that while all the staff have been really kind in thanking ACT, it's not us, it's our amazing donors and fundraisers who do all these incredible things to raise so much money that mean that we can help the team spend it really wisely. We're going to hear from Rajiv Chowdhury now. Rajiv is a doctor on the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. I've known Rajiv for a number of years, and what stuck with me the first time I met him was that he said when his twins were born, it made him become a better doctor. And I think as a parent, these are the kind of people that you really want looking after your babies. So we're going to hear a little bit from Rajiv now.
Good morning, and I am absolutely thrilled to welcome you to our virtual NICU and ACT a open day. And I think we've been doing it for a few years now, and I always look forward to this day. And I think mainly for two reasons. And I think first reason is to express our gratitude and express our thankfulness and just celebrate your kindness and compassion for the other families by the donations you do, and the donations which were inspired by your own stories in the NICU. And I think it's not only for me, but for whole of the staff. We really look forward to this day to celebrate it with you, so that we can express our thankfulness to you. I think the second and is much more important reason I look forward to do is to see the babies coming back. And I remember from last year's event, one of the parents brought, and the baby was now 2 years old, and said that they had a tough, challenging journey in the neonatal unit. And this girl had started now sounding some names, and they were trying to ask her to pronounce my name. And it just was such an emotional event for me. And I think, and normally also we display all the things where the babies who are now grown up a little bit can see where they were for 5 to 6 months in those incubators, and the people who looked after to it. And I think, we had a challenging year, and all of us, all of the world, all of the humanity. And I think now I am still very pleased and thankful to the ACT that they have made it possible that we are still doing this. And I think though we are doing it virtually, but our gratitude and all the good wishes are as real as they can be, and we convey all that to you. And I thank you on behalf of all the neonatal staff who have seen your kindness, how it makes the differences to the family which you have donated. And I think I feel very privileged, and so does every single member of our team, to have had an opportunity to work with you. And I think so in this, I think I was asked by the ACT team to just briefly mention that how did the pandemic affect us? And I think it was unremarkable and very, very unprecedented thing that happened to us. And I think it was a lot of unknown and a lot of uncertainty there. And I think these whole images of empty roads, empty car parks, empty shops, and people in PPEs everywhere, and how people's lives were turned upside down. And at work, I think in the neonatal unit, we had to make huge changes. As you know, as Gemma was mentioning, we look after some very, very sick and vulnerable babies. We were concerned, and we were rightly concerned at how it is going to impact these babies. And we were worried that somebody who's born with 600 grams, and if baby gets a coronavirus, how it is going to impact. And you know what? As always, these babies showed us the hope. They did the best. And I think evidence has now emerged that neonates are, if they do get, it's very, very small number of them are getting it, very, very small, to this extent that we didn't have any positive cases on our neonatal unit. And though we had made all the precautions, and those who from world over, whatever the evidence is coming across, they get it very mild, you know, though they must be vulnerable, but I think they're the strongest. They have shown us, they didn't stop coming out, and then we had similar sort of births, and they did very well. And they showed us that, yes, we can get through this. We can get through this. And I think that kept staff going. And I think even during these periods, the support which we got from the families via ACT was unremarkable. I think the team is going to talk about, that, how we, like all the neonatal units in the world over, were closed to the parental access. And we have now opened it up. I think Mary will talk about later. And but with the help of ACT, we could have this video chat system in place, which will be shown later on. We were able to communicate with the parents. ACT helped us with all these rooms where we can continue to provide the family-centered care. And above all, I think it has helped us. This pandemic hasn't deterred us to work with the families, with the ACT, neonatal and ANTS team, working on projects which help us to deliver a family-centered care and implement innovations in education and the clinical care. And that had continued. And we really are thankful to the ACT and also to all the families who have contributed to this. And I think I would finish with that. And if you have any questions, I'm very happy to take in the end. And once again, I thank you all from bottom of my heart and on behalf of all our neonatal team for all your kindness and compassion towards us. Thank you.
Thanks, Rajiv. It's lovely hearing from you. And before we even started today, you were telling us how the arrival of the pandemic meant that it was a really difficult time for both families and staff on the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. And one of the projects that we'd been planning for a little while, that we'd funded through charitable donations, we accelerated. And that was to set up a video link so that families could see their babies, because for a time they weren't able to visit their babies on the Nicu. So we're going to show you a little video now that tells you a little bit more about this special video link that kept families connected.
I'm Helen, I'm one of the clinical lead nurses here on NICU.
And I'm Claire, and I'm the clinical education lead nurse.
We were very fortunate to have funding from ACT for our baby view system, so it's an iPad. So it means that we can contact parents and give them updates, and they can actually see their baby when they're not able to visit. And obviously during COVID, we've had reduced visiting anyway, and that's made things really difficult for people, and especially when they're juggling home life as well. So it's been amazing. Yeah. We were really lucky that it was just about ready to go as COVID hit, so we could just push it out really quickly and get it up and running, whereas other places have brought in something similar, but there's been a whole load of work had to go on to before they could actually get it out, so we were really fortunate.
It's an important tool for us to have because we're very conscious about bonding and people feeling disassociated with their babies. So yeah, it's really been important for us. We'd just like to say a massive thank you to everybody who's donated to ACT. Your support has been absolutely overwhelming, and we can't do what we do without you. So.
Another lovely video. I think as a parent, all you want to do is see your baby when they're newborn. So I think that's a really special project that we made happen with the hospital's IT company, so that we reduced the trauma of the pandemic on brand new parents. So now I'm going to introduce Sajeev. Sajeev is going to talk to us about ANTS. So that's the Acute Neonatal Transfer Service. Effectively, this is an ambulance service. It's like a travelling NICU on wheels, together with specialist staff and specialist kit. That means that we can transfer babies who are born in the far reaches of the east of England to Addenbrooke's NICU, to the Rosie NICU, really safely, keeping them safe on the journey, because it can be quite a traumatic experience for a tiny baby. And Rajiv is going to tell us a little bit more about the service.
Hello and good morning, everyone. Gemma, thank you for the introduction. I'm Sajeev. I'm the clinical lead for ANTS. Now, before I talk any further, I would really first like to thank not just from myself, but from the whole team, and I guess, the whole neonatal team, the transport team for ACT. And I think no better day than today, World Prematurity Day, to kind of celebrate what ACT has helped us achieve in terms of getting to where we are. Now, a lot of people, when we do transport, ask us, how do you do it? How do you manage this? Isn't it daunting? Isn't it challenging? What are the emotions associated around it? And I say one thing, yes, in the midst of all of that, what really keeps us going is, as what my colleague Rajiv was saying, when you see these babies, when we transfer them back, when they come back to our clinics, or, on days like this, previously we would have celebrated with parents bringing these babies back. That is the biggest reward for us. That is what keeps us going. And that is every day what kind of keeps us ticking as a team and as a unit to help deliver, to continue delivering this service. And I think ACT has contributed so immensely towards that. Now, I do want to say a few words about what ANTS is, and this is, I'm sure everyone there knows what ANTS is, but ANTS means Acute Neonatal Transfer Service. It was a service that was established in 2003. We started off with one team, and over the years, with the support of ACT, we have evolved into now delivering a 24/7 service for the region. We've got 3 full teams. Each team has got a senior doctor, a senior nurse, and a St. John's driver who go out to the most sickest of babies in the region to deliver that specialist care into stabilizing and transferring these babies. For numbers, and I think that's important, over the last 1 year, we moved nearly 13,000 babies. And if you put that into numbers, 1,300, that would be over 100 baby a month. And the smallest baby we moved weighed 480 grams. So if you kind of didn't know numbers, that is almost the size of half a bag of sugar. And that's the smallest baby that the team stabilized and moved to a specialist center for ongoing care. In terms of the distance we travel anywhere from 13 to 14,000 miles a month. And that equates to about 16 times on road from London to Edinburgh. Or for people who know America, it's about 5 times between Los Angeles to New York. So that's the number of miles that we accumulate into delivering this specialistic, as what Gemma started off by saying, ambulance or intensive care on wheels service to get these babies to the appropriate place to have them have their best care. So how do we do this? So we do this by having the staff, but as I started off by mentioning, we would not be able to deliver any of this without the support of ACT. And therefore, on this auspicious day, I would like to thank ACT on behalf of myself and the team for helping fundraise into delivering this service 24/7. And I would be very happy to take questions at the end of the webinar. So save the questions for the end. Thank you very much once again for having me for the last few minutes. And I hope to see you all, not just virtually, but on the road, at varying points of time. Thank you very much.
Oh, Sajeev, you talk so beautifully, and I think you've summed it up really. You're transporting the most precious cargo ever, and keeping the babies safe is absolutely paramount so that we can get them home as quickly as possible. The number of miles just completely staggered me. I knew you travelled far, but not quite that distance. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So these are a couple of examples of projects that we have funded and supported over the years. I hope you all agree that we are very lucky to have this incredible hospital, an amazing hospital that looks after all of us. And we like to help these amazing doctors, nurses, surgeons who've got fantastic ideas about how to improve care even further. Some of the best minds in the country do the most incredible research right here in our Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. And we're going to see a video that here's from one of our researchers who's done an awful lot of work into blood glucose, which is actually a challenge for some of the larger babies that are born and stay on the NICU. So we're going to hear from Kathy Beardsall.
Hi, I'm Kathy Beardsall. I'm one of the NICU consultants, but I work half my time doing clinical work on the unit and half the time I'm involved in the academic department of paediatrics. So in Cambridge, we're a busy neonatal unit, but we're also involved not just in delivering the care for the babies we have on the unit, but thinking about how we might improve that care and make it better for babies on our unit, but also for the wider neonatal community. And in Cambridge, we're really lucky because we are surrounded by a huge biomedical campus that has experts in lots of different areas. And it gives us the opportunity to see how these different skills and different aspects of research can help our babies and make a difference to them in the future. There's lots of studies that I could choose, lots of different aspects, but I think the one that would be interesting to concentrate on is that of real-time continuous glucose monitoring, which is important to me because it's a study that we've developed from a small feasibility study here in Cambridge into a large international multi-centre trial, and it's now actually taking the form of actually impacting on babies' care. The CGM stands for continuous glucose monitoring, and what it is a sensor that can stay in a baby or a child for about 10 days, and that will give us readings of glucose levels in real time, constantly, so that we can act on those results and manage the care based on those results. Whereas the alternative would be that children or babies would have to have repeated blood sugars taken, with potentially painful finger pricks in children or heel pricks in babies. And we would get long gaps in terms of the time between these blood glucose levels when we don't really know whether their blood sugars are very high or very low. This intervention allows us to have more information in a less invasive way, and we can use that to be more proactive on how we manage our babies. The Pediatric Department is specialist in the treatment of children with diabetes, and you may have seen in the press with Roman Havorka, who's developed closed-loop technology for children with diabetes. And this has made a real difference to children who have problems with their glucose control. And we felt it was important that our babies on the neonatal unit also benefit from the same kind of technology, because those of you who've had preterm babies on the neonatal unit will know that our babies also suffer from real problems of instability of their glucose levels. And this can be challenging to manage and requires them having multiple blood samples taken. So we wanted to see whether this technology could be used in our very small preterm babies. So we took a small group of babies, did a pilot study to see whether actually this device could work in babies, whether it was safe in babies, and whether we could then do a larger study to see whether it could improve their care long term. So the difference is that if you have a new idea or a new innovation that you want to try, you often need small amounts of money to get you going, to get those ideas, to get enough evidence that you can then use that evidence to leverage larger funds like we did with the NIHR, the National Institute for Health Research, to fund a much larger study, our clinical trial, which was a large international trial. And then once we've got the results of that trial, we then need to start putting these innovations into practice. And actually that's another huge step. And that translating those innovations into clinical practice has been helped for us by ACT, actually making those devices available for babies on our unit before there has been a sea change across the whole of the NHS, which we hope will happen in the future, but it takes time and small steps for people to start using new innovations and new things in the NHS. Okay, and the most important thing for us is to actually thank ACT and therefore thank you who are providing that support, because to me the most important thing about research is providing opportunities for babies to actually benefit from research, because research is the only way that we will improve care and make the care of babies in the future better than even the optimal care we're trying to give now. So thank you.
I'm delighted to say that we've funded an extraordinary amount of research in the Rosie, particularly focusing on improved outcomes for premature babies. So we've talked an awful lot about the what's been possible thanks to donations through the charity. We're the middleman, and we make sure that the money is spent really well. But we couldn't do what we do without the amazing, passionate, hardworking fundraisers and really kind donors who decide that they would like to make a difference and like to do something to say thank you for their care. We've got a couple of videos to show you. So we're going to show you videos of two families who are talking about why they felt it was important to do something to give back. So first of all, we're going to hear from the Tomlinson family, who decided that they were going to fundraise for the Nicu.
Hi, we're Sam and Samantha Tomlinson, and we just want to give a short video of our experience with Adam Brooks and the Nicu department, and obviously ACT, and what a wonderful job these guys do. So I'll pass you over to Samantha.
So our daughter Molly was born in December 2019, and whilst I was pregnant we found out that there were problems. We didn't know exactly what they were, and when she was born she was rushed straight off to Nicu at Adam Brooks. and there we found out that she was born with a very rare genetic abnormality. I think she was 4th in the world at that point. And from the moment we arrived on Nicu, from the cleaners to consultants, the care we received from everybody we met was second to none. They went out of their way to make sure that we had memories with our daughter. They were just lovely. It was like a family, and they looked after not just Molly with brilliant medical care, but they looked after us as her parents, and they looked after our 4-year-old son as well, and made sure that he felt
and our families as well,
and everybody.
No, they were fantastic, and as a result, Molly was actually in NICU for 101 days. Came back for 12 days and sadly passed away at home, but they did everything they could. So we decided to try and give something back to ACT. Having been involved with motorsport and raced my whole life, I thought a motorsport race was something that I could do. Between Samantha and I and friends, family and colleagues and all sorts, we raised over £25,000 to ACT, which I appreciate is a drop in the ocean for the support and care they gave us, but it was nice to give something back, and as you've probably seen on this webinar, it's gone towards something. So I would absolutely recommend, and we will be doing continued charity fundraising for them, and it's nice. It's great to see the work that they've done continue to do, and yeah, highly recommend it. You should absolutely do it. But no, thank you for listening, and stay safe.
What an incredible family. So sad that they lost Molly. Amazing that they had 100 days with her. That's a phenomenal amount. Sorry, rather taken aback. We're now going to hear from Naomi Fox. Naomi's on the call with us today, and Naomi decided that she would fundraise for ants, and here's what she's got to say.
Hi everyone, my name is Naomi Fox, mother to Jackson Fox, who experienced firsthand the tremendous service of the ants team 2.5 years ago. Today marks the 1-year anniversary of when my husband Lee and I hosted a charity ball fundraiser in honour of our son and in aid of the ants team, and raised a whopping £10,000. We chose to raise money for the ants team because really that's where our story started. And if it wasn't for them, it may also have been where it ended. You have a lot of expectations about becoming a mother for the first time. You make plans in your head for things like the perfect birth, but at the very least, you want your child to be healthy. Jackson was born 11 weeks premature, weighing 2 pounds 2 ounces, and was a very sick little boy. If it wasn't for the ants team who came to stabilise him and transfer him safely to the Rosie Hospital using their specialised transportable incubation unit, then he wouldn't be with us here today. Jackson spent the first 6 months of his life in hospital and has travelled with the ants team on 3 separate occasions. What's important is that Jackson made it. He is now a thriving toddler, not afraid of anything, and just loves life. And it's the speedy response of the ants team that we have to thank for that. It's hard to get across just how important this team has been for us and for so many others, but the stats speak for themselves. In fact, the thing that really drove home just how fortunate we were was finding out that up until a few years ago, the ants team could only afford to operate from Mondays to Fridays. Jackson was born on a Saturday. We cannot thank the ants team enough, who put their heart and soul into everything that they do in order to give all babies a fighting chance. Speaking on behalf of my entire family, we are eternally grateful. Thank you.
Oh, Naomi, what an absolute trooper he is. What a beautiful boy. You couldn't have put it more eloquently. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I hope we can share that video with a lot more people to inspire them as well. We're going to have some Q&A session now. So I'm going to start off with the first question, which is, what are the current visiting restrictions for parents with babies in NICU? And I'm going to ask Mary to answer that question as matron of NICU.
Thank you, Gemma. And I'd like to start really just by saying we feel very privileged to be part of today celebrating World Premature Day with you all. And as a team, I think we really recognise what a really difficult time it's been for parents and your extended families during COVID. And we currently have open access for parents. As a trust, as a service, we're really constantly monitoring the local and national sort of situation. And we're also really fortunate to be guided by Bliss and by BAPM recommendations. We've learned a lot through COVID, and we constantly reflect on whether the decisions that we took at the beginning and during COVID were the right decisions at the time. And with our psychology team, we've done a lot of work going back to parents to actually ask them for their feedback. And we've got some really good sort of feedback from them that is really helping us inform our decision making at the time. As I said, we have to be guided by restrictions. We have to look at safety for everybody, but any decision we take will be in everyone's best interest. I think what's really important to highlight as well is the journey that we're coming on through ACT. We're very fortunate to have the facilities of the live video calls, and actually that journey started about a few years ago with ACT, where pre-COVID, we were already looking at having live streams for parents, and we've continued through COVID, where parents can actually speak to the clinical teams, the therapy teams, and have one-to-ones with the family and psychology team. So we will constantly monitor the situation, we will constantly speak with our families and the wider group and all the other services that support us, and do what is in the best interest of everyone. I think I'd just like to sort of finish that really on behalf of the team and to all our families and parents, we just want to say you inspire us every day, and thank you very much.
I think it's wonderful to see the humility of all the staff, that they think it's wonderful to look after our children, and yet we feel ever indebted to them. Thank you, Mary. Our second question is, what made you want to work on the NICU, and would you recommend it? So I'm going to ask Rajiv to take this question.
I think, thank you, Gemma, and I think very interesting question. This is the question I get asked in the interviews when I used to go for the jobs. And I think, you know, I trained in India and I worked in a very small village, and my first job was as a GP with a focus on, you know, newborn checkups and vaccinations, and that's where I got interested in pediatrics. And particularly, I think I had discussions, you know, you speak to your family, what should I be doing? And I had chat with my dad, he said, you do pediatrics. And then I branched off to neonatology and trained in it. And I think, if you would have asked this question to me 10 years ago, I would have had a prepared answer. You know, because this is a good team working, this, and this. But I think 10 years ago, things changed for me. And I think that made me realize that why I like this job. And I think I had my twins delivered who were premature, and they both were admitted in the NICU. I was training at London at that time and traveling every day back to Norwich and sit on the other side of the cot and see them so fragile, so vulnerable. And I felt so helpless, can't do anything. And then there was these wonderful doctors, and there were wonderful nurses who cared for them. These were wonderful dietitians who would come and tell us what to feed, pharmacists, the people who come as speech and language therapy, the breastfeeding support, the people who are keeping the unit running, cleaning, the ward staff who are opening the doors. And I felt at that point in those 5 weeks, sitting on the other side, what a huge difference this team has made to me and to my life, to my children, and to my family here, my family in India. And we were absolutely indebted to what people did. And that made me realize that, you know, as a person, I'm not important, but this job which I do, what I can achieve with it for this baby, for this family, I think that is the real motivation for me to come to work now. And I think that helped me to realize that. And I always feel that I might have been trained by big professors and other senior doctors, but I still owe it to my daughters. They taught me how to be a better doctor. And I think, would I recommend it to anybody? Yes, I think without any reservations. And I think in our house, there is a little bit of competition because my wife is a pediatric nurse. I'm a neonatal consultant. At the moment, they all want to do the pediatrics, but I think by the time they're grown up, I would have changed them to neonates. Thank you.
Rajiv, thank you very much. I think it's worth saying that you're such a busy team. You have, you prioritize your patients and you prioritize your work and the families, and yet you always have time for talking to people who are supporting the hospital. And that just floors me that you make the time to say thank you to people, and that you've spared this time today to really give people an insight into what's going on. And that's why it's lovely working with you all.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask you to switch seats with Sajeev, and we're going to ask Sajeev a question about ants. Oh, I liked your role in there, Sajeev. So can you tell us how donations have improved the service, and what future improvements you might make?
Thanks, Gemma, and thanks for the question. I think, over the last 45 minutes, we've summated thanks to ACT as to how we deliver this care. And if I were to say the last 1 year, all the charity that's come in through ACT, what that's helped us do is that I've said we've got 3 teams. And one of our biggest problems is, as you know, with teams, we have equipment. And this is the equipment that we call as, intensive care on wheels. So technically, we can do anything for a short period of time that what you would do in the most specialistic neonatal service unit to deliver care. And we had 3 what we call as tugs or trolleys to deliver that care. And there was always that with equipment, there's equipment failure, breakdown. And thanks to ACT and thanks to everyone who's contributed into the charity, we have been able to fundraise through you to get a 4th trolley. What would that mean? Resilience. And what would that mean for the region? That if we've got a trolley that's down, or we've got parts of trolley that's not working, we've got something to fall back upon to continue to deliver that 24/7 care for the whole of the region, to continue to provide the stability and the transfer of these very sick babies. So if I were to summate into saying what the last 1 year's charity has gone into, I would say in one word, life-saving equipment to help us move these critically unwell babies through the region to make sure that they do end up in a place that, that ongoing care can continue. What would future charity help us? We've got a huge wish list, and this wish list is to obviously enable us to continue doing specialistic, high quality care in terms of equipment that we would love to have, with our team to take out for these babies. So summating, your charity, ACT, and what everyone has contributed to has helped us have the lifeline into delivering that care, and the ongoing charity will help us continue purchasing, continue maintaining that lifeline into delivering this service. Once again, thank you so very much for having me on this platform today on this auspicious day. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sajeev. I could listen to you talk all day. So the last question is, what's the best way that I can support NICU? So I think I'm probably the right person to answer that question. We get people asking us this all the time, and really it doesn't matter how people support the hospital. They can do it in any way that they like. It doesn't matter if they decide to make a personal gift themselves, or if they decide to do something where they ask other people to sponsor them, or if they decide that they will just talk about the fact that the hospital has a charity. I think that's one of our big missions, is that people realise that there is a charity that specifically supports our amazing hospital. So however people want to support in whatever way they can, any way is truly appreciated. And we'd be we'd be so happy to talk to anybody who would like to do a little bit to help us further our cause. I'd like to say a really huge thank you to all of our speakers who have put so much work into preparing for today. They have allowed us to film their staff in a socially distanced way so that we keep the hospital as safe as possible. We really appreciate that the time that you've given and the insight that you've given into your work, because it's such amazing work, and we're here to support you in any way that we can. If you've enjoyed today's webinar, or if you feel inspired by any of the speakers that you've heard today, or any of the projects that you've heard us talk about, and you'd like to do something personally to say thank you, then once we finish this video, you'll be diverted to our website, where you could either decide to make a donation just to show your appreciation, or you could get in touch with us and talk to one of the fundraising team about some ideas that you have about how you might like to support NICU and ANTS. We would be so grateful. We're going to finish with a little extra thank you video, just to top off all the thank yous we've had today.
Once again, thank you to everybody that's donated to our ACT Fund. It's making an amazing difference, as you can see on the unit. We couldn't do what we do without your help. Thank you.
Thank you from NICU.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the donations here at the Neonatal Unit here on NICU. World Prematurity Day is really important to us. We would like to spread the word. It is not yet known well enough, and we do appreciate all your help. Thank you very much.
Hello, I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who's contributed their time, effort into making this day memorable for us, from the NICU and the ANTS team. Thank you so very much.
Thank you from NICU.
A lovely thank you from our incredible staff. We've already noticed that someone on the call today has set up a fundraising page. So to the parents of Robin and Ziggy, who were born at 25 weeks, thank you so much for setting up your Just Giving page. We're really, really grateful. And thanks to you all for joining us today. Take care. Goodbye.